Akadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Yevamot Daf Mem Amud Aleph 48:1. It says over here, we're just starting on Lametet Mubet on the bottom, where it says Ima Reisha. Let us see the Reisha. Right? We're talking about over here the beginning of the Gemara where it says Matzot Teachel B'Makom Kadosh. Okay, so we're talking about over here that when the Biyati Boom has to be done for a mitzvah, so it says, let's see the Reisha. We're talking about now the Shiurei Mincha, leftovers of the Mincha. So it says over here like it was a meal offering. So it says Matzot Teachel B'Makom Kadosh, which means you have to eat it like matzot and in the Azara. So the Gemara says it's mashma that it's a mitzvah. Okay, so B'Techila, right in the beginning, right when we're talking about in the beginning, he comes and he says, Aita alav bichlal heter. Right at the beginning, it was on the Kohen as a heter, which means this was regular ma'achal chulin. This was regular food. Ne'esra, once you consecrated it, became prohibited. Bechazra ve'utra. Now, the second that he did the mincha, right, and he picked it up, now the Kohen could eat it, so it became permitted again. Yachol tachzor le'heter hadishon. I would think that it becomes like chulin again. Tamulomar comes teach you matzot teachel b'makom kadosh mitzvah. What does that mean, matzot teachel b'makom kadosh? That it's actually a mitzvah to do it this way. So says the Gemara, Bishlam el Rava, I understand according to Rava, the Amar that he's going to say, Hamani, who is this? Rabbanani, this is Shitat Rabbanan. Hacha, so over here, Haki Kamar, this is what it means to say. B'matzot teachel b'makom kadosh. You're going to eat the matzot in a holy place. That's a mitzvah. Shebatechila, just like at the beginning, it was permitted. Why? Because you could eat it or not eat it, which means you're permitted to eat it or not to eat it. Nesra, once it became consecrated, right now it becomes again permitted to eat it. So I would have thought that it goes back to the original permission. So if he wants, he could eat it. If he wants, doesn't want to eat it. So says the Gemara, what? He doesn't need to eat it. It's written, only when the Kohanim eat from the korbanot, now the owners get their kapara. So it's not if they have a choice. If they want to eat, they could eat. They don't want to eat, they don't need to eat. They have to eat. So says the Gemara, Ela, but rather, Ratza ochla, Ratza kohen acher ochla. If he wants, he could eat it. Or if he wants, another kohen could eat it. Tamulomar comes to teach you, Matzot te'achel b'makom kadosh, mitzvah. Which means it's a mitzvah for him to eat it. Which means, if he doesn't want to eat it, he doesn't need to eat it. He can leave it for another kohen. But there's a mitzvah for him to eat it. There's a mitzvah for the kohanim to actually eat it. But according to Rabbi Baradimi, that he comes and he says that the seifa is going according to Shitat the Bashaul, that the mitzvah should be done by one and not by another one, which means it should be done the mitzvah and not for any other kavanah. What two different ways of eating the shiurei mincha is there? At the end of the day, you have to give me two different ways, but it says matzot achel, so therefore obviously there's only one way of doing it. So he says, and if you're going to tell me if you want, you could eat it b'te'avon or you could eat it achila gasa. Achila gasa means that you're already full to the stomach, and now you're just forcing it down. That's achila gasa. And te'avon means you actually want to eat it. So he says, achila gasa mishma. He says, is achila gasa bichlal considered eating? Amar Shakish says it as Shakish. Ha'ochel achila gasa b'yom kippurim. He says, if somebody's going to eat achila gasa on Yom Kippur, patur mi lo teuneh. He's going to be patur from the pasuk of lo teuneh. What does that mean? A person comes and they ate on Kippur. But how do they eat? They eat achila gasa. If somebody eats achila gasa on Kippur, he's exempt from the punishment from the avera of lo teuneh. Why? Because achila gasa is not considered, is not mevatel inui. Inui is if you start eating and you're enjoying yourself. But if you're eating and it's just achila gasa, you're forcing yourself to eat. That's not considered benefiting. You're not enjoying yourself. Okay? Ella, but rather, Ratza matzah ochla, ratza chametz achla. You have the choice what to eat, whether matzah or chametz, and you're allowed to decide. It's written, what are you talking about? It says that you're not supposed to make chametz. Even the shidaim, which is the chelik of the kohanim, it's supposed to be matzah, not chametz. So he says, Ela ratza matzah ochla, ratza chalut ochla. You could eat it either like regular matzah, or you could eat it chalut. Chalut means that you put it in boiling hot water. And therefore it says matzot achel, so you have the choice. Remember, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the choice of two different choices. Two different choices. Okay, so he says, Hai chalut echidami. What's the case of chalut? If it's matzah, hamatzah, it's already matzah. V'lo matzah, and if it's not matzah, matzot omer Rachmana. The Torah says you have to take matzot. So what does it help now? Chalita. Chalita is that you put anything in boiling hot water. So says the Gemara, no, you're right. Really, I'm going to tell you it's already matzah. And therefore the Torah comes and it tells you that you have to eat it like matzah, because even though it says veichlu matzot, it says again matzot teachel, le'akev. That means you have to eat it as matzah gemura and not chalita. That means if you took this matzah and you put it in boiling hot water, then you ate matzah, but it was just in boiling hot water. Such a case is not considered matzah. Why? Because it's not matzah gemura. It has to be 100% matzah. So says the Gemara, Ella chalut matzahi dekamninan lemayil chatas. What do I care there about then the concept of chalut matzah? So he says, Lomar shadam yitzeh lechover to bepesach afal bidechalte meikara. So means a person could be yitzeh lechovah this matzah on the night of Pesach, even though, right, he did it meikara. Kevan dehadar af betanur, because since he went and he baked it again in the tanur, lechem oni karina be. We call the lechem oni. The Adam yotzeva yechovato bepesach, and a person is going to be yitzeh lechovah on Pesach. Mishnah on Mem Amud Aleph, towards the middle. Okay. Hacholetz livimto hareu ke'echad min hanachim lenachala. If a person does chalitza to his yevama, to this yevama that she fell in front of him, so then he's like all the other brothers to do with nachala, which means he doesn't lose his chelek, right, because of the chalitza. Meaning, I would have had a havamina. Maybe listen, if he does chalitza, so now maybe he doesn't get any. Remember, who inherits the brother? Who inherits the brother? The brothers. So, hey, I would have thought to say, the person does chalitza, he loses his chelek in the nachala. Says no, he does chalitza, and he's just like all the other brothers to do with nachala. Okay, but that's a havamin. But if the father, it always goes to the father, right? But remember, a father inherits a son before the brother inherits the brothers. Before the brothers inherit the brothers, sorry. Okay? However, though, if he does yibum to his yevama, he gets all the properties of the brother. Rabbi Yehuda says, benkach ubenkach, whether chalitza or yibum, im yesham av nechasim shela. Yeah, if there's a father, it always goes to the father. Yeah, the nechasim. Okay? So that's the father is going first always. That's a shita av Rabbi Yehuda. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Yeah, the first part that we just said, right, that if a person does chalitza, that he's also going to take like the rest of the brothers. Shita, obviously. Why wouldn't he take like all the brothers? So he says, no. I would have thought to say chalitza bimkom yibum kaima. Right? Velish kol kulenich said, the exact opposite. I would have thought to say that chalitza is like yibum. You have the choice. You either do chalitza or yibum. So I would have thought to say that just like yibum, if he does yibum, he gets all the properties. If he's the one that does chalitza, he also gets all the properties. So Kamash Malan, he doesn't get all the properties. He's just like any other brothers. So says the Gemara, Ihachi, if so, Hareu ke'echad min ha'achim, right? He says, what does it mean, Hareu ke'echad min ha'achim? Eno ela ke'echad min ha'achim ba'eleh. It should have said he's not only like the other brothers, which means this would have showed you that he didn't lose the status of when you say Hareu ke'echad min ha'achim nechala, he's like one of the brothers in nechala. It's mashma that you would have thought to say that he loses his rights. Kamash Malan, that he doesn't lose his rights. So therefore, according to what you just said, it should have said, Hareu ke'echad, eno le ke'echad min ha'achim. He's all the brothers. So he says, you're right, the opposite way. I would have thought to say, since he lost from the yibum, right? Liknese, we give him a knas. What's a knas? That now he loses all the portion in the brothers' nachala. Kamash Malan comes teach you that he doesn't lose out. And therefore, it makes sense, like what we just said. That means we would have thought to say that we give him like a penalty, the fact that he did chalitza, no yibum, he loses everything. Kamash Malan, he doesn't lose everything. Okay? Fine. Nekuda. 2 dots. Yeah? Im yesh av, if there's a father. So we said that if there's a father, so then the father gets the properties. The Amar av kodem, lechol yotzei yerecho. The father comes before all of his children for nachalot. So therefore, since this person had a father, that father would inherit him and not him. Okay? If a person is going to come and he's going to do yibum, so now he gets all the properties of the brother. My tama was reasoning, Yakum al Shem Achiv Rachmana. The Torah says Yakum al Shem Achiv, right? Which means that he's going to get all the properties of the brother. But it comes, so he is al Shem Achiv, so therefore he becomes like the brother. Okay? Next 2 dots. Rabbi Yehuda says, right? Benkach, we said that if the father's alive, the father always gets it. Amarula Ula says, Halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amarula Vitim Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says, Ulan some people say Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. My time at Rabbi Yehuda. What's reasoning Rabbi Yehuda? Because it's written in the pasuk. V'aya bechor asher teled ki bechor. Right? What does that mean? It's going to be that it's going to, when it is written that it's like the bechor, the yavam is like the bechor. So he says, what does that mean? Ma bechor en lo b'chaya av. Just like a bechor does not take anything in the lifetime of the father, right? So he comes and he says, so too hainami, so too here also the yavam en lo b'chaya av. He will never take in the lifetime of the father. What does that mean? In the lifetime of the father. In the lifetime of the father means that if right now the father is alive, a bechor doesn't take anything, right? But what do I care? He's a bechor. The father's alive. The father takes everything. So the same halacha. So too here, vaya bechor asher teled, that when the father's alive, this person that's doing yibum does not come and does not join. Okay, he does not take from the properties. He doesn't take anything until the father comes and he takes. So says the Gemara. 1 second. Ima bechor notel pishnayim lachar mitataav. Afay notel pishnayim lachar mitataav. 1 second. If you're going to tell me now that just like the bechor takes pishtayim, so too he should also come and take pishtayim, because remember what's happening. You've got this person that he's doing yibum. Yeah, so he's doing the yibum. Chazak u'baruch. He does the yibum. Now what do we say? His father's still alive. So what happens? To do with the yibum, this bechor is doing the yibum. To do with the nechasim, Rabbi Yehuda just said that the father takes it because the father's still alive. So the father gets before everybody else. So therefore, since the father was alive, he takes all the property. So now 1 second. So now you're going to tell me now if the father passes away, so the bechor should take double portion then, right? Why? Because at the end of the day, he should take his own portion in the chelek of the met, right? So therefore, you're going to come and tell me that. So he says, Midi yakum al shem aviv ktiv. Does it say in the pasuk al shem aviv? It says yakum al shem achiv ktiv, velo al shem aviv, which means the mashmaut of the katuv, the mashmaut of the pasuk is the yavam is not going to be zakai in yirushat echav only when he is the one that's getting the inheritance right then and there. But if he didn't get it there, so then he doesn't get them afterwards. That means he lost out on the portion. Meaning like this, if there was no father, 1 second. If there was no father, so then what would happen? So then he would get everything, right? Whether bechor or not, whoever's doing the yibum, right? Again, it's the mitzvah begadol, so it's a mitzvah in the bechor, right? But whoever does the yibum, he gets all the properties. That's if there's no father. What happens if there's a father? The father takes it. But now that the father takes it, this person that he did the yibum for the brother, he doesn't get anything afterwards. What does that mean? He's going to get like any other brother, right? He's going to get like any other brother, but he's not. Fine, he's going to get pishtayim anyway. But I'm saying, but it's not that he's going to come and he's going to take the inheritance of the other thing. I have to finish my name. So we're going to say that this is only if the father was not alive, that he's going to take the nachala, that he's going to take the inheritance. So titkayem mitzvah tibum, so then it's going to have the mitzvah of the ibum. But but 1 second, why don't we just say that if there is a father, that he's not taking the inheritance, so titkayem mitzvah tibum, which means was there in Parashat Ibum, it says mefurash that the yavam is yoresh nachalat echav. Now, if according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's only if the father's not alive. So therefore, why don't we just say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the father's alive, there's no mitzvah tibum. Right? Why? Because the father's taking the nachala, not the brother. So for there's no mitzvah tibum. So answers the Gemara, midi yibum benachalat ala rachmana. Says what? Yibum is only talui in nachala. Yibum imiyamme, right? He has to do yibum anyway. If there's an nachala shekula, he's going to take. Vilolo shakil. If there's an inheritance, he's going to take the inheritance. Let's say the brother died penniless. So what is the connection? At the end of the day, there's still the mitzvah yibum. Therefore, he's not going to take it. So Yativ Rabbi Chanina Karakamid Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Chanina comes and he was actually sitting in front of Rabbi Yanai. Okay? And he says, he was a baki, by the way, in Mikraot. That's why he was called Rabbi Chanina Kara. So he was a baki in Psukim and everything in the Torah and Tanakh. So he says, Yativ Kaman, and he said, Halachak Rabbi Yehuda. Right? Halachak Rabbi Yehuda. So Amaleh, so Rabbi Yanai comes and he tells him, Puk Kari Karyach Lebara. Go and call your Psukim on the outside. En Halachak Rabbi Yehuda. So he went and he said, you could be a very big baki in Chumash and Tanakh and everything that you want, but read that outside. Halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda on this. That means obviously that the father will not come and take the nachala. Okay? Another story. So this is very interesting because right now, this is Rabbi Yanai, right, telling to Rabbi Chanina Kara, even though one line before we just said that the halacha, that Ula said the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and also Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha said the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda. But now the second story, Tanet Kamed Rav Nachman. So they said in front of Nachman, right? En halacha Rabbi Yehuda. So he says also they said in front of Rav Nachman, the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Now it's very interesting because remember Rav Nachman, he was a big dayan. So usually we paskin like Rav Nachman here. So he says Amaleh, he comes and he says Ela Keman. So for who are we going to paskin like Rabbanan? So he says obviously Pshita. Obviously you're going to go like Chachamim. Yachiv Rabim Elachak Rabim. When you have even one Tana against the other ones, we go like the Rabim. Yachiv Rabim Elachak Rabim. So obviously we're going to paskin like Chachamim against Rabbi Yehuda. So Amaleh says Ismeye. He says what? You want to take it out of the Girsa? Right? Amaleh says, no, don't take it out. Why? You were coming and teaching you the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda and not en halacha. So now you have the question, why are we going to paskin like Rabbi Yehuda against Chachamim? And therefore we have to do the opposite. We have to actually be gores en halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Or maida pacht. Now the fact that you changed it and you said the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, Shapira pacht. It was good that you changed it. Why was it good? Because we actually had to have it. Because behemet, it's proper to leave the tikkun in the girsa that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. But if not behemet, you would have thought it was the exact opposite. Okay, so therefore he comes and he says it was good that you kept it that way. Because if not, then we would have had a girsa, right? That the other way around. That maybe the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda and the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore he comes and he says, for the fact that you say that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, that's even better than saying the halacha is like Chachamim. Because that you could have asked, why don't we just say halacha ke Chachamim? The Gemarnu, right? Why do you have to say the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, which automatically means the halacha is like Chachamim? So he says that first of all, we know that this is coming la puke, the shita of the Ula and of the Rav Yitzchak Nafcha that says the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and also you're not changing a lot of the girsa, because when you just say halacha Rabbi Yehuda and halacha Rabbi Yehuda, you're just adding a word, you're changing the girsa one word. But if you're actually coming and you're saying that halacha Chachamim, you're changing everything completely. Fine. One of the last line on Mem Amud Aleph, the Mishnah. Hacholetz livimto hu asur b'krovateha v'hi asura b'krovav. So if somebody does now chalitza, so now he becomes prohibited in her family members, and she becomes prohibited in his family members. Okay. Now, if you remember, this was only a din d'Rabbanan, right? That's what I recall that we learned in the past. Okay. So now he comes and he says like this. Okay. That was the Mishnah. Continues the Mishnah in Mem Amud Bet 40b. Hu asur be'ima uve'em ima uve'mavia uve'vita uve'bita uve'bena, right? Uve'achota bizman she'i kayemet va'achin mutarim. So it comes out that the person that did the chalitza, he's not allowed to get married to the mother, right? To the mother's mother and to the father's mother, right? Sorry, emavia, right? Also the father's mother. Then also just like 3 generations up, the 3 generations down. So in her daughter, right? In her daughter's daughter, obviously we're talking about from another marriage, because this is talking about Yibum. If it was from the brothers, obviously there wouldn't be Yibum. So obviously we were talking about that from another marriage. So she had a daughter, the daughter's daughter or the son's daughter, right? Uvachota, or her sister. So for example, if this sister-in-law that he's doing Yibum Chalitza now to had a sister, so now during their lifetime, right? When Bizman Shi Kayemet, was remember 2 sisters is only Bizman Shi Kayemet, right? V'achin. Now the other brothers that they didn't do the Chalitza, mutarim, they're permitted in all these family members. Remember, they're not allowed to eshetach, so they can't get married to the sister-in-law, the one that was married to the brother's wife, but they're allowed to get married to the sister-in-law's mother, daughter, granddaughter, right? Mother, okay? Next, he asura. Now that is to do with him. So he's prohibited in the 3 generations up or 3 generations down. Behi asura. Now she's also going to be prohibited. Be'aviv, uve'avi aviv, right? All with also in his father and the father's father. Uvivno, uvevemeno, be'achiv, uve'nachiv. So also in the son, in the grandson, in the brother, right? And the ben achiv. Also in the nephews. Okay? Again, a lot of these cases were shniot larayot, if you remember from the previous mishnayot. Because if you remember the grandmothers and all those things, that was already shniot larayot, right? Okay, fine. Here it actually quotes which ones are actually the shniot and which ones are the 100%. Okay, fine. Let's just finish the mishnah. Mutar adam bikrovat tzarat chalutzato. So a person is permitted in the family members of tzarat chalutzato, ve'asur b'tzarat krovat chalutzato. So therefore, right, we don't say that the tzarot are also like chalitza. Remember, the second that he does chalitza to one woman, the tzara, the co-wife, she goes completely free. She doesn't need not ibum or chalitza. So therefore, since this person right now did chalitza to this woman, Mrs. A, So now the other sister-in-law, which was Mrs. B, right? He's permitted in the family members of hers. Why? Because she was completely patur. There was never a chalitza done. So since there was never a chalitza done to her, the chalitza was only done to Mrs. A, not to Mrs. B. So therefore, he's permitted in the family members. Ve'asur b'tzarat krovat chalitzato. Now, if right now krovat chalitzato was married to a person and she has a tzara, right? Arei tzara is going to be permitted also onto the choletz, because if that person dies, so then tzarat krova surah ala choletz, just like the krova itself. So therefore, he comes and he says, now it's going to be. Okay, the Gemara is going to explain this exactly what's going on in this case. Okay, 1 second. Please. So we have over here the picture like this. If you look at number 1 over here, Reuven and Shimon are brothers. These two are brothers over here. Shimon has 2 wives, Leah and Chana. Okay, 2 wives, Leah and Chana. Now Chana has a daughter from another husband. Her name is Esther. So that's here. This woman over here, that's Esther. Okay.
Zara.
Which one?
Zara.
Yeah, that's what he said, from another wife. Yeah, now it says here, Chana has another Mibal Rachel. That's what it says. Uleah achot Rachel. Leah is his sister Rachel. Rachel was married to David, and David has another wife called Miriam. Okay, so now it says over here like this: Shimon dies without children. Okay, so here you have Shimon, he dies without children. Reuven does chalitza to Leah. Okay, so this is Reuven does chalitza to Leah, not to Chana, to Leah. So it comes out Leah is chalutzat Reuven. Now, Chana is tzarat chalutzato. That's what we just said, because this is the tzara of the chalitza. Since Reuven did chalitza to Leah, Chana goes out scot-free. She doesn't need not ibum or no chalitza. Now, Esther is krovat chalutzato. So this is chalutzat, right? This is tzarat chalutzato. This is now krovat chalutzato. Esther is the krova of chalutzato. So it says over here, Esther is krovat tzarat chalutzato. Umuteret leReuven. So now Reuven is allowed to get married to Esther. So Reuven cannot get married to Chana, but Reuven can get married to Esther. Uchmochen. So too, Rachel is also krovat chalutzatot Reuven. Why? Reuven did chalitza to Leah. Now Rachel is the sister of Leah. So Rachel is also the krov chalutzato, right? Miriam is tzarat krovat chalutzato ve'asuralo. So it comes out, right, that over here Miriam is tzarat krovat chalutzato, and therefore it's prohibited, right? But this woman, Esther, is permitted. So that's what we just said here. Umutar adam bekrovat tzarat chalutzato. So that's this one. This is krovat tzarat chalutzato, which is Esther. However, though, he's asur betzarat krovat chalutzato, right? Which is going to be this one, Miriam. Yeah. So Reuven is permitted in Esther and prohibited in Miriam. That's that we just learned in the Mishnah. Okay, that's the end of the Mishnah. So now says the Gemara. Okay, says the Gemara. Ibai lehu, we're going to say the Gemara. Ibai lehu, we're going to ask the following question: Gazru shniot b'chalutza or lot? Did we make a gezerah of shniot la'arayot by chalitza or not? Remember, this is only din rabbanan. Okay. Now the question is that right now, did we also make a gezerah on the shniot la'arayot or not? Be'ervat doraita, when we're talking about ervat doraita, gazru rabbanan shniot, which means this: if a person gets married to a woman, so there the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, the daughter of the wife, and all these are doraita. That's ervat doraita. So anytime there's an ervat doraita, so therefore gazru rabbanan shniot. So therefore the rabbis decreed shniot la'arayot. But bechalutza, lo gazru rabbanan shniot. So if it's going to be chalitza now, so then they didn't make a gezerah on shniot la'arayot. Or dilma, or maybe, yeah, or maybe he says loshna. What does that mean, loshna? Maybe be'emet there's no difference, and the rabbis they made a decree by chalutza also on shniot la'arayot. So Tashema, we're going to come and try to bring a proof. Hu asur b'ima uve'mima. We said he's prohibited in the mother and the grandmother. Vilu em'emima lochter. We didn't say about the great grandmother. We didn't go about her grandmother. We just said her mother and mother-in-law. But that's it. So dilma hainu tama delotani. So maybe it says Gemara that's not true. Not that we don't make a gzera on shniot. Maybe the reason why we didn't teach it was the shum nikwai limit the seifa. We needed the seifa. The seifa says v'achin shmutarim. The brothers that they didn't do the chalitza, they're permitted. Now v'tana, if you're going to tell me now ima havamina, I would have thought to say achin mutarim davka be'ima. That the brothers are going to be permitted davka ima. Aval be'ima. But if it's going to be the ima u'ima, the mother of the mother and her mother, so no, So be'emet, it's not going to be perfect. That means we don't make a gezerah of shniot larayot. So ask the Gemara, v'litzni ima v'litzni achim uturim mikulan. Why don't you just say ima, and then say the brothers are permitted in everybody. And once you say it's in everybody, it's not only in the shniot larayot, it's in everybody. So says the Gemara, you're right. It's a good question. Kashya. Okay. Now we're going to try to bring another proof. Tashema, he asura be'aviv u'be'avi aviv. We just said that she's prohibited to get married to his father and the grandfather, right? Ktani miha, but we learned avi aviv. When we're talking about avi aviv, my love, are we not talking about mishum choletz? Tavi lekalat beno. We're not talking about because of chalitza, right? Which is kalat beno, right? So therefore, he comes and he says, we're talking about the kalav, the son, the daughter-in-law of the son. So says the Gemara, no. What are we talking about? Mishum mitzna, because of the deceased, that it is the daughter-in-law. So tashema uviven bino. What about the grandson? My love, are we not talking about because of the choletz? Again, eshet avi aviv. We're talking about the wife of his grandfather. So no, mishum mitna, because of the deceased. Eshet achi avi aviv. So it's mamash, it's ishut gemura, it's 100% a wife. So says the Gemara, v'ameimar machshir be'eshet achi avi aviv. Right? That's this case right here. Look at the picture. Again, you have Yitzchak has a child, which is Yaakov. Yaakov has 3 children, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Okay, Levi has a wife, which is Tzila. Okay, Levi dies without children. Shimon does chalitza to Yevimto. Right? So therefore now, Tzila is prohibited in Yaakov, which is the father of Shimon. Okay, also because, why? Because it's Kalato. Right? This is Kalato, this is the daughter-in-law. So obviously she's prohibited in the father-in-law. So she's prohibited on Erva. She's also prohibited in Avi Aviv, which is Yitzchak. Why? Because it's Kalat Beno, right? It's Kalat Beno. That's what he's saying over here. Kalat Beno, the Shniya Larayot. V'chen asura tzila bivno shel Aviv. Also she's going to be prohibited in the son of Reuven because of Eshet Ach. Okay, so this is going to be Eshet Ach. That means she's prohibited in Reuven. Now it says over here, v'chen asura tzila, right? Bivno shel Aviv, Chanoch, right? Because of Eshet Achi Aviv. Okay. Now it says, now these asurim, right, or that's what it says here. It's not because of Shimon the choletz. That's just because of the regular arayot. Okay, because again, Tzila is, right, this is going to be Eshetach, so she can't get married to Reuven. She can't get married to Yaakov because it's going to be Kalat Beno, right, or Kalat Beno. This is Kalat Ben Beno. Okay, so these are all the different ervas that we're talking about. So it says the Gemara, that he permitted them, which means according to him, we didn't make shniot la'arayot to do with the chalutza. To do with the chalitza, we didn't make such a concept of shniot la'arayot. So says the Gemara, no, ameimar mukila bebar bera de saba. Ameimar is coming and saying that the Mishnah, when it says ben beno, we're talking about ben beno shel zaken, which means, right, he comes over here when this is, I think, the next one. No, this is the next one already. This is the next case already. We're talking about when it says here ubebeno, ubeben beno, so that's what it says over here. Ubeben beno, he's coming and saying everything is on aviv, right, which is brought down at the beginning, which means ben beno shel avi choletz is the son of the achi amet. Okay, and therefore that's why he comes and he says it's going to be prohibited. So says the Gemara, we're going to try to finish the 2 dots. It says yihachiv so hainu achiv uven achiv. So he says 1 second. If it's beno uven beno, so then that's the brother and the son of the brother. Why does it have to say beno uben beno? Just say that's the brother of the choletz and the ben achiv of the choletz. So he says, you're right. Tana achiv mina av uktani achim achiv mina em. Right? You have to say it separately because of the concept of the brothers from the father and the brothers from the mother. That's this picture over here. Uktani achiv mina em. What is achiv mina em? Look over here. Moshe Chana, right, is each Visha. So Moshe is married to Chana. Okay? So Moshe is married to Chana. Chana has a son from another husband. Okay? Mibal acher. Right? Who is that? Reuven. So here, Reuven came from another husband, an external husband. Okay? And now, Chana comes and he has, V'tilech Chana leMoshe, Gad ve'Asher. So now, Chana gives birth, Gad ve'Asher, from Moshe. Okay? So Moshe and Chana have Gad and Asher. Chana had a previous son called Reuven. Okay? So now, Gad ve'Asher are brothers from the father, right? And from the mother. And Reuven is only brothers from the mother. Correct? Gad ve'Asher is 100% achim. Gam mitzad abba, gam mitzad ima, from both sides. And Reuven is only from the mother. Okay. Now Asher takes a wife called Sila. Asher dies without children. So God does chalitza, right, to Sila. Now Sila is prohibited to Reuven, achiv mina em, isur erva. Why? So that's isur erva. So too is Sila's asur to Chanoch, asurat to Chanoch, because of isur of shniot larayot, right? Because she was eshet achi aviv, right, mina em. So that's isur shniyat larayot. Okay, that's why we have to actually learn it. So Tashema, we're going to come and say now, right? The Tanya Rabbi Chia, the Rabbi Chia taught, Arba midivrei Torah. There are 4 that it's divrei Torah. That's midoraita. The Arba midivrei sofrim. There's going to be 4 which are going to be divrei sofrim. Av ubno achiv uven achiv. The father of the choletz, the son, the brother, and the nephew. Those are midivrei Torah. Avi, right? Aviv. Va'avimo ben beno uven bito. But the grandfather from the mother, the ben beno, the grandson, or the grandson from the daughter or from the son, all of those are midivrei sofrim. Okay? Here's the different, okay? So says now the Gemara, these are all the different cases that we mentioned now. Okay? 1 second, these are all the pictures. Fine. So now says the Gemara, lo, it's not true. Sorry, ktani miha. Sorry, I skipped this. Right? So it says like this. Ktani miha, however, that we learned, avi aviv. Now, if you're going to tell me it's avi aviv, my love mishum choletz, is it not because of the chalitza? And therefore it's considered kalab beno. So therefore, since kalab beno is only going to be a shniya, it's a shniot larayot. So therefore, mifurash in the bright that we also made a gezerot on chalitza, also on shniot larayot for chalitza. So answers the Gemara, lo mishum mitzna, because of the deceased, which means because of the kurva derech the deceased, and not because of shniot larayot, because it's considered kalab beno mamash. Okay, and then he says here, tashema, we also could bring a proof of imo. What's the case of the father of the mother? He says over here, right? My love, are we not talking about mishum choletz, the same thing because of the choletz, meaning because of the problem of the chalitza, that the person that did the chalitza, and therefore it's kalabito. So he says, no, again, the same answer, mishum mitzna, because of the deceased himself. Tabele kalabito, that it's mamash kalabito. That means basically we keep on pushing off that you cannot bring a proof that it's going to be a gezerah because of shniot larayot. So Tashema, we're going to bring a proof of embeno. We're talking about now the grandson, right? My lover, we're not talking about because of the choletz, tabele eshet avi aviv, because then it's the wife of the grandfather. So therefore, since the wife of the grandfather person is only shniot larayot, so again we made a gezerah on shniot larayot. Says the Gemara, the same answer, mishum mitna, because of the deceased, because basically it's going to be considered eshet achi aviv avi aviv, which means it's the wife of the great uncle, right? It's the grandfather's brother, right? Eshet achi avi aviv, okay, which is the mamash the arayot. So he says, "Veha meimar machshib." What are you talking about? Meimar just told you that it's kasher. So he says, "No." Meimar mukila mishum choletz vekasavar gazu shniya b'chalitza. He says, "No." Meimar says it's because of the one that's doing the chalitza, but he holds that we do gezerat shniot larayot for chalitza. So again, we're going to try to bring another proof. Ta'achema uvem bito. Right? What about now the grandson, the son of the daughter? Right? We're talking about now the choletz. So he says, "My lover." We're not talking about because of the choletz, and then it's considered eshet avimo, the wife of the grandfather. So he says, no, mishum mitzna, because of the deceased, because it's considered eshet achi avimo. Again, we're talking about the great uncle. Okay? Says 1 second, but I thought you said that we're not going to make it. La mishum choletz, everything because of the chalitza. Shema mina gazu shniya b'chalitza. Shema mina, so you're right. We are going to learn from here that we did make a gezerah, and that's the chachamim, that the chachamim did make the maskana is that they did make a decree also on shniot larayot, also for chalitza. Okay, we'll continue with Zrat Hashem tomorrow.